colleagues from the CIDB, and also the community that is joining us on the YouTube channel of the CIDB. Without wasting a lot of the time, we'll call on stage the representative from the University, Walter Sisulu, to give us the welcoming remarks, after which we'll be calling in the CEO of the CIDB. Thank you. Is it you, Prof? Okay.
So, good morning. Sanibonani, Molweni, Dumelang. So, hure So, just from my side, just a good morning to all, as I've said that. So, I've been given a task just to come and welcome you. So, this is not my event. So, it's the event for the student. So therefore, I'm not going to take time. So what I want to do is just to welcome Program Director. So we are welcome. The intended CEO, so Mr. Bongani 𝗪𝗪𝗪. So I think after I sit down, Mr. 𝗪𝗪𝗪 is going to come here. So Professor Clinton from UJ, so we are welcome. We're having a team in terms of the exit management of CIDB. So all we are welcome. So we've got representatives from different universities, Tshwane University of Technology, and also in terms of DUT. Then in terms of the facilitators, so I also welcome the facilitators. Most importantly, in terms of the student, so you are just welcome to the masterclass. So the event started in terms of yesterday. Today is just focusing on you. I've got staff members from the Faculty of Engineering, Built Environment, and Information Technology. All the staff members, we are welcome. And those who are coming even from Butterworth, so from their side, 𝗧𝗵𝗲 is there too. So thank you for they've traveled along. So they woke up early. So they are here with us. And they were first. Quite interesting. Those who come from Butterworth, they were first. So we welcome that. So we've got the HODs, in terms of HODs from the faculty. So we are also welcome. We've got support staff. So we also welcome you in terms of that. Without you, so this PACA event was not going to take place. We've got the facilities. Facilities are there, operation staff, and we also welcome you in this PACA event. So if I've missed some other people, I'm very sorry from the bottom of my heart. So I'll welcome you again later on, so in the next session, if I've not welcomed you. I think if I can just a little bit on this particular event. So we had a launch yesterday in terms of the Centre of Excellence. Today is just to take us in terms of technology. I won't go to the technology, what the masterclass is about. So those who are responsible, they will come and tell you. Normally, I don't like to say something on behalf of people. If it was me doing the training, I was going to tell you exactly what I'm going to do. So on that particular note, I'm saying those who are going to do the training, they're the one who are going to tell you all the details about the training. So, but from our side as a university, I think moving forward, we are saying in terms of technology, we need to infuse the technology in terms of our curriculum, in terms of our teaching. If you are looking in terms of the world, going forward, the world is technology-driven. So we want one day to have our own innovation. Who are the people who are going to innovate? It's you. Ourselves, who are going on retirement very soon. Maybe in 2 years' time, I won't be around. I will be now doing in retirement, just enjoying my life in the farm. As Lali, I'll be relaxing there. So therefore, we need people who are going to come forward and take what we've done, so in terms of the next level. So therefore, from my side, I think my job was very simple. It's just to welcome you, to say, those are external to us, please, we are welcome, feel free. So we've got our student here. Please make sure that it's a 2 hour. I think CE is supposed to be 2 hours. Within 2 hours, you'll be free. But this 2 hours, in an interview one day, you may be asked a question from this today's presentation. Just make sure in the 2 hours, please concentrate on the 2 hours. Then after the 2 hours, I bet you are going to be free. So therefore, just make sure that you get the value out of the 2 hours. The 2 hours may change your life forever. So one thing that I've done myself as a student, when I was still a student, I only missed 2 lectures in my life when I was a student. So some other people, I don't know how many lectures if you miss. So one of the things I used to do, not to miss lectures, so that I just spend some few hours on studying for the test and the exam, because most of the things I was getting them from class. So I was spending less time in terms of studying because I attended lectures. So therefore, I'm just saying, just make sure you attend your lectures so that you spend less time to study. If you are not studying, if you don't attend classes, you're going to spend more time on studying. And it's not a guarantee that if you spend more time on studying while you are not attending, you are going to be able to pass. So otherwise, Program Director, thanks so much for the opportunity. All, we are welcome. Thank you.
Thanks, Prof. As we welcome the CEO of the CIDB on stage, we have asked him that he allows for maybe 5 questions from the students as soon as he's done his talk. He will not be staying for the whole session because he has to rush for other meetings, but he will allow for those questions. So I would request students that you listen attentively and you take down notes so that you can be able to ask questions. From the sound people, if you can play a nice Mapiano song as the CEO is coming on stage.
I was racing to the stage to avoid the edge to dance if they played a song I like. I'm also going to be extremely short because I believe there are quite interesting presentations that are going to follow what I'm going to say. I'm so glad to see so many of you students here. Yesterday we had a session with a lot of adults. Well, we are all adults, I think. No one is under 18 at a university, but old people, Prof. Twala's age and up. But really, what as the CIDB we came to do was to focus and try to build a much more stronger working relationship with the students of University Walter Sisulu, because really many of you are getting ready to join the industry, and as a construction industry development board who regulates this industry, it's quite important that we work together. Our role is increasing in terms of driving digital and innovation in the South African construction industry, and mainly because when we look at some of the larger contractors that we are working with and contractors that are coming from other countries, they are far ahead of many of the developing countries. I think South Africa, because of the work of people like Prof. Twala in BIM, digital innovation, safety in construction, and the myriads of areas Prof. Clinton and team are working on. We are slightly better off, but we need to practicalize some of that important research that they've been doing over the years so that the construction industry, especially the emerging sector, becomes very comparative when we compete with the rest of the world. The South African construction industry really, especially at the higher end, is open to everyone. So when you leave this excellent university and you go to the industry, you will not be really competing alone, but will be competing with many people from around the world, as we are doing many iconic projects in the country. Here in the Eastern Cape, I think projects like 𝗵𝗃𝗃 Bridge and others, in KZN, Stephen Dlamini Dam, in Gauteng, phase 2 of the Gautrain. Those are not only going to be built by South African, and the expectation must not be that only South African students will be competing for that space. So it's quite important that us as students, we familiarize ourselves. In the program, I'm asked to talk about the role of cidb in promoting digitalization and innovation in the construction industry. And our contribution, in short, is as follows. We need to promote digital transformation in the construction industry. And we are best placed to do that because we can regulate, we can gazette, we can advocate for many technologies and adoption, like building information modeling system, digital project management tools, electronic procurement, and all those types of things to ensure that we reduce costs, improve accuracy, and minimize delays in projects. Am I not audible? I thought I was very loud. And we also, as a cidb, have the capacity to develop industry standards and frameworks that become compulsory for the industry to adopt. Hence, we believe we are best placed in ensuring that. But without that, and part of the mission of creating these centers of excellence and collaborating with higher education institutions is that we need to build the capacity and skills development that are necessary for that. The team at cidb is working on the digital roadmap for the country, and a huge component of that includes programs, training programs, and practical, what do you call it? English is escaping me now. I'm really in the Eastern Cape. Practical opportunities for students to apply what they have learned in that. So encouraging and upskilling in these technologies becomes also important. As a cidb, we are also mandated to assist SMMEs. I know I've talked about the larger projects that are done by many of the larger contractors, but we also need to make sure that our SMME, because most of them look like you and I, they are young. Well, I'm not that young anymore, but compared to profs here, I'm very young. So we need to just make sure that they are also supported, that they are not left behind. And with digital transformation and innovation, it promises to enhance transparency and governance in projects. You know, gone are the, well, not yet gone, but we are hoping that we'll move towards where issues like corruption in the construction industry becomes a thing of the past by adopting some of these. So facilitating research and collaboration through the Centre of Excellence, like the one that we launched yesterday, and other training program through the BUILD program of the cidb, we are hoping that we can foster a sustainable growth of the construction industry that includes digital transformation and also drive sustainable and smart construction. I will never miss an opportunity when I speak to people that are younger than me, that are still students, without talking about building a life and becoming a lifelong student. We need to make sure, as you know, curricula in higher education, I don't know now, Prof, maybe my understanding of higher education is a little bit outdated, but curriculum, it takes a long time to change. You know, that there are basics that every quantity surveyor or engineer needs to go through, but in this digital age, you need to find ways to continuously improve yourself by learning new technologies. You know, by the look of things, I'm sure AI is used by almost everyone in this room to deal with the assignments that some of the lecturers mark. But we really need to improve in that. We also need to embrace the changes that are coming and innovation. Don't resist new systems and technologies. And you also do need to build a much stronger work ethic and discipline as a young graduate in this environment. It's becoming very competitive. Opportunities are there, but you are really competing with everyone. Everyone wants to come and work in these projects that the country is trying to get off the ground. Since I'm talking to students in the built environment and engineering, really problem solving, I think, becomes core to our nature. And then also build the relationships that will sustain you over years. So with those few words, colleagues, let's learn from the colleagues that will follow. We have quite a few exciting speakers where they will give us practical things they've been dealing with, be it through the BRICS BIM Skills Challenge or the experiences about the training opportunities that are available within the CIDB or in the sector and the exhibitions. And hopefully we'll see some of you taking some of these topics forward at postgraduate level when you get an opportunity to do so. But otherwise, thank you very much for inviting us to this excellent university, for us to come and find ways of collaborating with you, with the university for the benefits of the students that are gathered here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, CE. May I allow for hands? We'll take 5. And it's the only opportunity. If there's anyone who would want to ask anything from the CEO. There's one here. Can I have the second one? Is this the only one or are you 2? Okay, there's 1, 2, there's 3. Need 2, maybe from the back. It would be better if it's from different campuses, Butterworth and Potsdam. Hopefully it's not from the same campus. Okay, I think there's only 3 hands. Or 4, 5. There's 4 here. If noted, and there's number 5. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for the platform. My name is 𝗧𝗵𝗲, a student from the Department of Mechanical Engineering. I have one question I would like to ask. Throughout the presentation for the CEO of CIDB, he mentioned that they want to build a relationship in terms of equipping students so that they can be exposed in this construction site. So my question is it possible for CIDB to work hand in hand with the institution or to collaborate with the institution and make sure that the students within the engineering side or the building side, at least when they come up out of varsity, they can be able to open their own construction company? Because looking at the stats, the construction companies are most owned. I think there are less number of youth who is exposed in construction companies. So such initiatives can be appreciated so that students can be exposed to construction sites, and also students, when they come out of varsity, they can be able to create the employment, because there's no employment within our country, as we can see. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Number 2.
Thank you. My name is 𝗧𝗵𝗲 𝗀𝗀𝘀𝘀, from the Mechanical Engineering Department also. You talked about, the CEO talked about, in terms of regulating corruption. So we know that the construction industry as a whole is facing a lot of problems related to corruptions. So what mechanisms do they have in terms of trying to scrap the virus? Also, what systems do they have in place to end this corruption so that it can be a thing of the past?
Thank you. Number 3, there.
Good morning. My name is 𝗬𝗵𝗲. I'm asking a question regarding to the relationship that CEO refers to. If I may ask, is it possible to you to ask the contractors to accept all students that is doing training the second years? Because it's so sad that it's compulsory to do training on your second year, but you end up not doing it. Because I'm in a final year now, and I'm realizing that most of izinto esizenze esayithini ziya-implementa kuzo zonke i-module ezenziwa kulo nyaka. So is it possible that you guys engage with contractors to accept students?
Thank you. Number 4, here.
Okay, thank you so much for the opportunity. You mentioned.
Can you please introduce yourself first? Thank you.
I am. One of the lecturers at the built environment here. I didn't press. Okay. Okay, yes. My question is around the e-tendering. How ready are we now to move, especially in the public sector? Because I remember when we are having this debate, we always think about the capabilities of the tenderers to use these e-systems. And also there is, this thing of corruption, it always comes up that how are we going to handle the corruption in terms of people who are now in charge of receiving these documents online, and how are we going to now be sure that corruption is not going to happen? So the first question is that, how ready are we as the public sector? Because it's not the problem in the private sector. The second one is the issue around the corruption when we are now migrating to submit online. I introduced myself? Yes, I did. Thank you.
Thank you. The last hand, number 5.
All right. Thank you. I am Asandile Zote from Butterworth. My question to the CEO and the team is the reaction towards the war in the Gulf states, Middle East, and its effect in terms of energy and the supply chain that is underlying our industry. Thank you.
Thank you. Those are all the questions, CE.
I'm teasing because they are not playing my song to dance. Thank you very much, colleagues, for those questions. Starting with Isaac, with regards to building a relationship and getting exposure in construction sites and having students, when they leave, open their own companies so that they can also contribute towards creating employment. Over the years, I think it's safe to say this, Prof. Twala, we deregulated and removed a lot of barriers of entry in the South African construction industry, which has resulted in some of the challenges that we are facing in terms of quality of work. So getting students, graduates from the built environment and engineering being part of the construction industry is quite important for us to build proper capacity for these companies to deliver. The cidb board, I think about a year ago or two, they actually proposed that we change even the registration criteria to say it's still not signed into law, it's still going through the processes of social impact assessment and other things. Is it what? Is it social impact assessment? Yes. And the state law advisor to say, for instance, if you come out with your diploma in civil engineering or buildings, why do you need to start as a grade 1? Because you understand the basics, you've been to a construction site, you're actually less of a risk, in my view, than majority of the grade 1s that we have who have just registered a company. So we are hoping that that can be passed into law so that even those that are professionally registered, they don't also start at the bottom of in the registration, grades, because they are really not as much of a risk compared to those that have just done a few projects and came to register with us. So that one would be actually very important for us to create opportunities for young people when they enter the construction industry, especially on the business side, that they can start doing larger and meaningful work. And we are also seeking partnerships as the cidb on the funding side with the likes of the NYDA, Department of Labor, Employment and Labor, to ensure that 𝗬𝗏, Small Enterprise Development and Finance Agency, to ensure that we can support financially those businesses that are started by young people. Because when you start in construction, the QSs will tell you, when you're dealing with cash flows, it's quite a cash-intensive business. So we have to allow for that also. And also through the BUILD program, obviously, when we are closing the gap, we've been running some entrepreneurship trainings and others, and also encouraging many clients to have contractor development programs that are focusing on the youth, women, and people with disability. So those are really the important areas from the cidb's perspective that we think we need to continue work on, so that opportunities for younger people in the construction industry are there, especially also on the business side, because not everyone is going to gain employment. Some do need to become employers. In terms of how, I think it's another mechanical engineering student, I couldn't get the name, apologies for that, regulating corruption and how do we deal with that. There are a few aspects to that. You know, e-procurement is probably going to be our best chance at minimizing human interventions in procurement. But e-procurement that is smart, not e-procurement that is a collection of information. You know, I've seen clients do stupid things, and I can say it's stupid because it is stupid, where you still do the manual process, you fill in your document, you put up all your attachments, and then you scan that document and you load it somewhere. Initially, even the CSD, the Central Supplier Database, collates a lot of information of businesses. That system is connected to SARS, that system is connected to Home Affairs. There are silly things that we need to, that e-procurement can assist us in making the cost of doing business lower. And as a cidb, we also are supporting clients. You know, there are quite a few that are already fully online in terms of their procurement. They don't need to go and verify a grade on the cidb. They've already connected with us. They don't need to ask you to go around town certifying ID copies. It's a stupid thing to do in a sense that, because that is information that belongs to the government, so you can connect to Home Affairs. That information is there. So e-procurement helps in that. And another chronic issue that many contractors face is when people want to manipulate an SCM process and then they start removing tax clearances and all, so that your bid becomes invalid. With e-procurement, you don't have that opportunity. We have one version of truth of what was submitted, you know. And you can even take it further, where evaluations also do not really require a lot of human interventions, unless it requires a professional judgment for a decision to be made. So it is that part we really are working on. We wanted to move to fully online in terms of procurement in the construction industry, but the National Treasury also proposed that we work together because there is a e-procurement section in the Act there. Also, as a cidb, we need to deter people from doing corrupt activities. You know, in the past, I think 6 months or so, we've deregistered over 50 companies for such actions, because people go there, they pay someone, they try to get a grade, or they commit to do work, they get paid, whereas they've done nothing. So we are also working at that. I think currently we are also investigating probably over 300 cases where we want to deregister those companies that are not playing fairly, or those companies that are stealing from the people. So to set the culture correct, it's quite important for us. It's quite important for us to show that it has consequences. And I think some government departments are doing well. We're seeing some assets being confiscated. You know, the quickest way to buy a Maserati is to wait for an auction for a former entrepreneur who got caught, and then the stuff is taken and it's taken to auction. So that part becomes helpful. In terms of contractors to accept students, I think that is very important. What we did as a cidb, we also gazetted that every project that is above grade 7, it must be compulsory that they provide opportunities for those that want to do their trade test, in-service training, or even those that are in candidacy programs. And with that, currently I think it absorbs about 1,000 students, but we need to get all infrastructure clients. We are not even making it a contractor's problem. We are saying, as an infrastructure client, make sure in your tender document, if your project is grade 7 and above, make sure that there is an allowance to accommodate students and young graduates for them to get their experiential learning, and experiential learning that talks to the outcomes that are expected from them, for them to get registration or to get their qualification. Where we are with that, like I said, we were expecting to get at least 15,000 people supported through that program each year. But where we are struggling is getting the compliance of all the infrastructure clients. So we are working hard also at that to ensure that we get our students on construction sites or in engineering offices so that they can complete their training, they can become holistically technologists, technicians, and engineers, quantity surveyors, construction managers, and. So that part really requires a coordinated approach, and I think Pran will talk to that in his presentation. I think second to last presentation, he will talk to that. So we are doing something about that. And then, how ready are we for e-tendering? Government, everyone is ready. You know, we have such sophisticated systems, ERP systems where we work, even I'm sure at this university. It's just that people want to maintain the status quo so that they can continue with their illegal activities. I don't know when last you went into a bank physically. Everything is done online. I think Prof wrote a book, both of them, I think, on blockchain in construction procurement. It's not far-fetched ideas. Others are doing it. And each and every government office has the technology to do so. But sometimes it's a matter of people wanting to continue with their illicit ways of getting projects. And actually, contractors actually prefer that route because these are businesses. Sometimes when we talk about contractors, we sometimes create an impression that, no, it's a vulnerable group of people that don't have access to technology. They do programs on MS projects. They comply to UIF, so the SARS, they are fully online, so they are integrated with the technologies. And there's nothing better as a contractor than not having to attend unnecessary site briefings because they steal half of your time. If you can do it online, you will have saved 4 hours of your day. And also with tenders, if you don't have to go around police stations certifying documents or go around clients getting them to give you new reference letters every time, if you can sit in your office or your home and submit these things online, it saves you a lot of time and money. I would rather we be talking about how do we ensure that we leave no one behind there in that digitalization process, because it does really yield results for clients and contractors. When you look at clients that are fully online, they generally get things cheaper than those where things are put in a post box. You know, I'm not going to mention names, though. You see, a cube of concrete in a municipality close to the sea somewhere is far cheaper than a cube of concrete in a neighboring municipality that where people are submitting through a tender box. Because those ones where you submit through a tender box, people take out those tax certificates and all of that, and then only the tender they are interested in becomes compliant. So I do think the skills are there, and the capacity is there, and the willingness is there to do so, but some are just taking too slow. How ready is the public sector? Really, I really think they are ready. And the last question was about the war in Iran. I am definitely sure this is a QS student and they are trying to test my knowledge of how to calculate escalation. I'm an engineer, so a civil engineer, so escalation, I simplify it. But already we are seeing the impact of that. The cost of, well, obviously we've seen the cost of petrol, and it's a significant driver to a lot of energy, a significant driver to a lot of the input cost in construction. There was one contractor yesterday who was buying stones for the gabion basket and was saying, no, they are cheating me. They've put in a surcharge of 3,000 Rand on a 20,000 Rand invoice, whereas a few weeks ago it was not there. But it's the cost of petrol. Go and check your contracts whether it allows for escalation. You will have other materials like your bitumen in roads where they will significantly go up. So test exam questions, you can get them from Sandral as to how they are dealing with that. But you'll find that smart, if you have an informed client that is able to balance the risk appropriately to those that can best handle it, it works out. What we will find in the short term is that it will be just more expensive to do certain activities. But even if you tendered 2 years ago, the escalation aspect will kick in, and then things like bitumen, tar, and those kinds of products are becoming more expensive, and it's already being felt by the contractors. But where it becomes important is that when contractors know their contractual rights, then they can ask for escalation, they can apply the escalation clauses in their contracts, and they get a little bit more money because it's really things that are beyond the control. It has disrupted global supply chain systems. I do expect certain projects, especially those with lead items that are coming from Asia and other parts of the world, like pumps and all of that. Obviously, if you look at some of the routes that they have to take, South Africa, a little bit better, but America is really going to struggle with that, because if instead of going through this Strait of Hormuz, now if you have to come around South Africa, Cape of Good Hope, it takes a long time. And when you really see a ship that carries some of these large items, they are extremely slow. They are at the pace of a bicycle, so it will disrupt a lot of the supply chain. But apparently, they're saying they are winning that war. So We are hoping not for long. But obviously, this is where it becomes important for people to understand their contract, is that you do, in many contracts, have recourse when such events happen, things like fuel, things like the price of steel when they go up. You can generally escalate your rates appropriately to cover your cost. Thank you. I think I've covered all the questions, Nat. And thank you very much for the questions.
Thank you for that song. Just because you played the song for the CEO, maybe he can even sponsor students to attend the National Construction Summit. We move now to the next item where we now begin to speak to we have presentations as per our program. The first presenter is Dr. 𝗵𝗂𝗀𝗀. He is the Deputy Director for Sustainable Human Settlement and Construction Research Center in the University of Johannesburg. He is the member of the BRICS Council for Skills Working Group. He has a PhD in Engineering Management. Let us welcome Dr. 𝗵𝗂𝗀𝗀𝗀.
Molweni. Ninjani. I am 𝗵𝗂𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀. I don't know if I can reflect. Okay, it's coming. It's coming. Okay, yes, it's 𝗵𝗂𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 from the University of Johannesburg. I'm also part of the skills group for technology within the BRICS Council. So here, mine is just to inform you and also capacitate you further in line with what we do within the space of technology and what the work we do within the council itself. So I have a presentation. There we go. Yes, so this presentation is just going to overview what we do, and then after this, we'll present one of the capacity technologies who participated in the competition in the previous year. So the intention of this presentation is just to engage you on what we do in the BRICS environment for skills development. We'll obviously engage at a competitive edge, the intention for it. Different strategic alignments that are important for all of us here, adults, students, and all collaborative partners. And obviously, some of the work that we are doing in line with the InterVarsity pipeline that we intend to achieve across all universities, whereby we intend to work around having competitions within different universities, including Walter Sisulu. So this will just be the outline of the presentation itself. We'll just speak more on this, some of the medalist winners in the previous competitions of this BRICS skills competition and challenge. And then I will also explain the standards, the skills passport that we are intending to develop in that space, and also some of the requirements that are important when it comes to this, especially for partnerships, so that all of us as built environment and engineering students, we are able to participate in this. So the nice thing about this presentation, when I'm done, we'll have a practical component which will show us what we've done over time in this space over the past 6 years. So speaking from a BRICS Skills Working Group member point of view, I think the intention here is just to be able to understand what is the plan. So BRICS ideally is 5 countries: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And over time, we've had additional members like Iran and Saudi Arabia and the likes. And I think the idea is also to ensure that there's collaboration amongst these nations in different aspects. So through DIET and DSTI, which are departments in government, so it's necessary to collaborate even from a skills development point of view across all different nations that are there within the country. So what we see here also is to note the intention to standardize this collaboration through standards, harmonize them. These further advances for policy development, and we also have the intention to compete amongst each other. So that's some of the mandates that are being given to this working group. And I think going back to pre-2026, which was last year going back, you'll realize that in us competing, we had different intentions in BEAM. I won't really dwell much on what BEAM is for now, but BEAM in definition is building information modeling. So at the time of us competing, one of the skills which I was part of, the idea was to collaborate as construction and engineering professionals within a digital platform whereby you are able to share information, coordinate, design as participants. And some of the skills which were adopted at the time includes what you see there. BEAM software proficiency, 3D modeling, which is aligned with architecture, model coordination, and model visualization. So when I get to a certain slide, I'll also explain specific skills that are linked with this particular skill set, which can also help us further. So some of the models at the time, including the previous years, included us intending to collaborate in a common data environment, whereby you are able to coordinate with other professionals as well, and also collaborate and coordinate. So this was the intention of the competition. So the competition has many other skills, like virtual reality, blockchain technologies as well, and I think the idea here is to even develop further skills. So China at this current moment are leading this process, and I think with South Africa being part of BRICS, I think we also need to find our way into capacitating our side as South Africa. So with each passing year, and I think obviously with the right collaborations, which we have been having with the cidb over the past 2 years as well, 3 years, whereby they've been able to assist us with this process and also assist the council, assist different universities to onboard students like yourselves, candidates, to be part of it. So the process that we take on to get to a point where you are competing, it's phased in different phases where we register you. We have different orientations, so we show you different standards that are there internationally and locally. We also intend to set you up with different platforms that are there within the engineering and the built environment space. This could be in Autodesk, Revit. We also move further into test projects and trial projects to prepare you towards that competition itself. And then obviously towards the starting time, we further prepare and ensure that all our participants are there. So just to further explain what has occurred in the past years, in this 5-country approach collaboration, you realize that in 2018, Russia had the gold medal. And I think from our part, 2022, we were able to get bronze. And I think also through CIDB's integration into this partnership, we were able to get the bronze medal as South Africa in building information modeling. In 2023, South Africa hosted this competition. South Africa were able to achieve gold at the time. And then also in 2024, Russia was hosting. We were able to compete virtually. Russia were hosting and they got gold. And CIDB also assisted us in that process as well. Then last year as well, Brazil was hosting, and then China were also the co-hosts. We had gold medal at the time. And I think the person who will be presenting after me will be engaging you about that, because he's one of the gold medalists who competed. These are just some of the outcomes from last year in the form of pictures while they were in China receiving that gold medal. So to further engage on how the structure works when it comes to how we achieve this, I think if you look at the first block there, the team structure. So the structure has been coordinated in a way that we have 2 members. So we are talking building information modeling, and the idea here is to understand how do you coordinate BIM management skills, BIM coordinated skills. So these are skills that are being implemented in the private sector. And I think through us having that structure in the team, it can further capacitate you as you exit into the industry, because already some of the private sector industry are doing it. And I think through the work of the CIDB, we intend to reinforce those particular skills. And it's through competitions such as this that we are able to achieve this. So ideally, the deliverables that come out of this is to ensure that you are able to create the model, as I said earlier. You are able to also understand the IFC packages. IFC will be broken down in the next discussion as well. And you are able to compile a full project when it comes to, I know we're talking about how to gather information on an e-portal, how you engage different documentation from design, tender documents within the platform. So that BIM conversation as well assists us to compile. So these are some of the deliverables that we intend to do through these test projects. And that's what we did in the previous year while we were in China. So some of the activities that we are currently doing, as I said earlier, as the BRICS working group, we are trying to ensure that we collaborate all universities within South African context, whereby we replicate this competition within our context. We are able to develop new skills that are able for you to be able to align with the different tracks. So some of the tracks beyond BIM that we are looking at can include AI and automation within the built environment. So it was interesting enough, in China last year we had that component whereby as part of BIM, we had to now integrate AI. And I think part of the discussion of the competitor will also explain how that process works. So this also includes virtual reality. If some of you were here yesterday, I think I engaged some of you as well. You would be able to see at one of the exhibitions, we were able to show you virtual reality, which deals with being able to see a full representation of a physical building virtually. And you are able to navigate, immerse in that environment without being on the specific site. So those are some of the skills we are developing within that space. So the selection process will be very open. We'll obviously coordinate with your different institutions, including Walter Sisulu, over time, to ensure that we are able to coordinate across South Africa as we prepare for the global BRICS competition. And I think as I conclude, I think one of the main things that we need to understand, the intentions of collaboration should assist us to understand that we need to have knowledge transfer in the process. There needs to be a linkage, and very important now, as we are adopting a lot of skills between industry and academia. And I think as the CEO has alluded, we need to move from the research-based approach and understand that we need to try and practicalize the research that we are doing, and also the teaching and learning that we are doing, into ensuring that it's part of how you see your projects in real life, how you actually enter into into seeing these technologies and being part of those technologies outside the theory that we train you every day as academia. And I think beyond that is employment pathways. This is very important, especially for the working group. Between that, there are skills passports that we intend to develop. If you are to move within China, Russia, these passports are able to assist you to work within those countries, especially for the skills that we are developing in that particular space. And I think more to the intended domains. And I'll say this also for you to further research on. If you see there where I wrote competency domains, that's just explaining some of the future skills that we are moving towards. You see building modeling. So being a BIM modeler is part of a skill for those mostly in the architectural space. CDE management, this is a skill that even yourselves as built environment, construction management, quantity surveying students can be part of. AI assisted design, designers, those are also skills that you can also be part of. You can just do quick searches on that as well. Then BIM coordination, which is very important. This skill here is there to assist you as a coordinator to onboard different professionals within a particular project. So these are some of the skills and requirements that are intended. And I think through the working group, we intend to also communicate further with your CHE, communicate further with DHET to see how do we align with what we are doing as the working group with this process. And also, lastly, part of what we're doing in the working group is to ensure that we have standards. So if you go back to the left, standards harmonization. So some of the standards that are guiding building information, and this is also for your noting as well, your 19650 standards. This is where you get to see what is being communicated internationally when it comes to building information modeling. There's also protocols that are there for you to understand further. So as we enter into direct technical discussions, these are some of the standards that we intend to train over time. And I think through what we do with different universities, with the working group and the CIDP, we want to get you to a point where you get to understand some of the standards. And I think the recent standards that we are currently reviewing as the working group is the BRICS BIM protocol, where we want to standardize BIM in the BRICS context. So what you see here, these are just different requirements that if we were to get to a particular point of collaboration and partnerships, these are some of the expectations. So obviously we'll need a lot of laptops, softwares, compensation, training program, and different virtual integration. And I think with this, the CIDB has played a huge role to where we are today, and I think the continuity process over time can help us a great deal to get you guys, to get all students from different universities in the built environment to align. And this is the last slide before I present our next speaker as well, through the program director. So what you're looking at here is when we're dealing with digitalization, there's the need for investment, there's a need for leadership. And I think as a whole, we need to be able to understand its importance. And part of its importance is to continue. We need to have continuity in what we've been doing as a people, or as a nation, as government, as private sector. And part of that process can get us to a point where we are able to standardize the work we do. We are able to know and package the information we've had. And I think based on what I've alluded now with what we are doing in the working group, you are able to see that if we are able to do that, we can advance the standards. We can even improve the work that is being done by government to ensure that we get to a point where we have skilled students, we have skilled professionals in this space of digitalization. So I think with that said, I think it's important that we form part of this discussion whereby we compete and continue to capacitate South Africa as a whole. And I think with this little information I give you, I think we can go beyond this as a nation. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dr. 𝗵𝗃. Because of time, we're going to try and manage time. Will please allow us to proceed to the next presentation, which is Mr. 𝗵𝗃. Note down your questions, then we'll allow for questions after that presentation. And also what I'm requesting for you, Mr. 𝗵𝗃, is that you combine your two slots. So instead of having 𝗵𝗃, let's have you do all your sessions. Then we have 𝗵𝗃 after, because there is a link in terms of what you'll be presenting. Help me in welcoming Mr. 𝗵𝗃 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪, who is our next presenter. He's the BIM coordinator, senior architectural technologist, BIM Future Skills, and a gold medalist in 2025. He has a Master of Science in Construction Management. Mr. Sandile Mhlungu.
Thank you so much, Program Director. Thank you very much for a multitude of students that have come to view what I'm going to be showing you today. Just like Dr. 𝗵𝗃 had explained, obviously the aspect of today's presentation is to give you an understanding. There's this big word that is going around across the world, which is called BIM, right? So BIM basically, in a context of just understanding between me and you, BIM in a normal, particular way. We do BIM on a daily, right? We communicate with each other, we send information to one another via cell phone, via a laptop. But on the platform of obviously collaborating within the built environment, let me just quickly present this. So on the platform of collaborating through the built environment, right? So while it still loads, I'll just continue speaking. So BIM basically is not a software. Just like I've explained, BIM is a collaborative, communicative platform for each and every single industry individual to obviously communicate upon. I don't know why it's a bit slow. But in that context of what BIM is, oh, there we go. Close it here. I actually wanted to play a video for you with what is happening. So just like I've said, BIM information modeling is not just a software, it's a process. It integrates design, construction, and operations. Central digital modules containing all project information. So BIM in its earlier stage, which will I explain in terms of the history of BIM in its earlier stage was a traditional CAD drawing that you would submit to each and every single industry individual. Then it developed over time, and then it became a 3D sort of dimension in that regard, looking at different levels of the height of a roof, the height of a window, the height of a door. So BIM is a system of building information modeling. It is a process of generating and managing building data during its life cycle. BIM uses three-dimensional real-time and dynamic building modeling software to increase productivity in design and construction process. So the history of BIM. So BIM obviously started in the late 1975, just like I've explained. It was your normal CAD drawing. It's not allowing for full screen. I don't know why, but I'll just continue. It's fine. Right, so it earlier started in 1975 by Mr. Eastman, right? And then continued later where it became developed in the different softwares. So I will explain the different softwares that are existing. Remember I said to you, BIM is not a software, but it's a relation of different softwares that are interconnected to one another. So you will find different ArchiCAD, AutoCAD. So you will hear me speaking about these particular words, but I'll give you an explanation upon that. So, building information modeling is a foundational, intelligent, model-based process for business and industry transformation. It uses 3D models to capture, explore, and explain consistent and coordinated planning, design, construction, and operational data. It provides greater project insights in cost scheduling and constructability. It uses and shares the same consistent data where you're at the desk or on the field, maybe on a construction site. It enables prompt response to change with processes that are smarter and faster. So, a BIM life cycle. So as you can see, when you begin in terms of a BIM life cycle, which we'll explain further in this slide, is that there's what you call BIM dimensions. So when you communicate with one another, looking at a feasibility study, sitting together and understanding what is it that you want to build. And then later on, this BIM process and the life cycle of this structure, after it has been constructed, there's the maintenance and the facility aspect that what BIM assists with. So what could BIM be explained in 3 terms? So a building information model is basically starting from your drawing and then developing it to being a model, right? And then after that, it is modeled further with the different industry individuals, your engineer, your structural engineer, or even from the architect all the way to a quantity surveyor or construction manager. And then it in places where you will find a building information management. Once the building has been constructed, then you can manage what they call solar gain within the building, how hot and how cold, by looking at that building information, right? So the BIM workflow looks at basically 4 individuals in this example. So an owner will come to a company and say, I want to construct a particular building, right? And he will communicate with the architect, who will then communicate with the engineer, and then will communicate with the contractor. So this type of workflow kind of works hand in hand in that regard, right? So that workflow looks at the aspects of the architect being able to communicate with the owner on this BIM platform, which is what I'll be showing you today, on how that BIM, we speaking BIM, how you actually do BIM. So where is BIM used? Just like I explained, you can use it in facilities management, procurement, virtual reality, mixed reality, logistics, detailed design, and structural analysis. It is a process of different workflows that follow one another in that regard. So, building information modeling in digital is a digital model or combination of models that consist all the project data and information. I hope I'm not losing you. I'll try and just simplify it as I'm speaking. Is everybody still with me? Thank you. Right, so in terms of modeling, remember I explained in terms of building information model, then modeling, and then the management. So building information modeling is the process of creating the asset information and involving the process of creating information, right? Then we get to the information management. It's the process of managing the whole information through the supply chain, so it could be decided which and what way and when to deliver the information. So principles of BIM management looks at the exchange, the coordination and collaboration, and also communication and correlation of all of that. So these are big words, but just to simplify, just like I've explained to you in the beginning, is that it's just you coming together as a community and working on one structure, and each and every single individual has their own types of skills that can be incorporated into this particular model. And then it becomes the management process. Just like Dr. 𝗵𝗂𝗀 was saying, you find different students here. You find architect students, you'll find quantity surveyors, and you'll find construction managers, right? So each and every single person is part of that community of BIM, right? So one person will draw the plans, upload those particular plans and 3D models where then the quantity surveyor can quantify windows, roof, doors, slabs, and so forth. And then the construction manager can then be on site and look if the process of receiving the information whilst the structure is being constructed. So that's the aspect of information management in that regard. So why is BIM important? It looks at effective communication, right? And it is essential for project success. Poor communication can lead to duplication of work. So BIM assists in poor communication, right? Because everything is being uploaded and communication happens on the, I'll explain a bit later what you call a cloud. So multiple team members may unknowingly work on the same task. Design changes may be missed or not properly shared. Lack of communication can cause conflicts between teams. Conflicts and errors lead to delays in the project completion. Right, so looking at what we look at in terms of the BIM process. So normally what you'll see on the left is what is currently happening or happened in the previous, where you are trying to collect information from an architect and the engineer, and the documents are not coming together. But if you're using this BIM platform, everything is uploaded onto one source cloud, and then from that source cloud, people can retrieve information without needing to pick up the call and phone someone that is somewhere far away for them to obviously retrieve that information. So this spider diagram looks at the aspects of a centralized cloud system to communicate with all industry individuals. Right, so BIM can reduce construction and production costs by 5 to 20%, and early clash detection avoids cost on-site rework, and looking at better planning reduces material waste, and 4D BIM improves the scheduling and reduces delays. Right, so as you can see, it's written 4D BIM, 5D BIM. Like I said, I'm with you. I'm going to explain all of these particular components. I'm just trying to get you warmed up to try and understand what I'm going to be showing you later. So 5D BIM links a cost directly to the model for better control, and improved coordination leads to higher project quality. It is faster decision-making, shortens project timelines. So like I said, now here comes these dimensions of what I was talking about. So BIM 1D is a platform where it looks at communicating with one another as a community, coming up with a feasibility study. Can this particular project work? After that, once everything has been decided, then you get to BIM 2D. So BIM 2D looks at the traditional floor plans, sections, and elevations. After it has been developed, who will be drawing? Which is the industry individual that we'll be looking at in this regard? 3D BIM then looks at the geometry of the structure, the columns, the roof, the 3D aspects of this particular structure. After that, you look at the 4D BIM. It links the 3D model to the construction schedule. I'll show you hopefully it will play on the side, a video that looks at setting out a site all the way to an aspect of it being fully constructed using a 4D software. So 5D BIM looks at the cost estimation and adds cost data for the budgeting and financial control. And then 6D BIM focuses on the energy analysis and performance, while looking at 7D BIM for facility management. So each and every single individual that is involved in the project will find themselves either looking at one of these particular BIM dimensions. So like I said, BIM 1D is about researching and planning, right? So 1D BIM defines the project, its purpose, scope, and feasibility. It looks at the stakeholders' outline, goals and budgets and risks. Right, I don't know why it showed like that, but BIM 2D looks at the aspects of the drawing. So softwares in regard to AutoCAD and AliCAD and Revit and ArchiCAD are where you now start to model. So before you get to modeling, you cannot jump that particular process of BIM 1, 2D, and 2D rather. So BIM 3D looks at obviously all of the information that has been collected to now create this model, right? So that's where modeling comes in. So you would use different softwares, right? Some that is proficient in particular areas like in Johannesburg, they'll use Autodesk Revit. In other areas, they'll use ArchiCAD, right? And some are still using AliCAD, right? So these are the different softwares that are used in that particular regard when you are doing 3D modeling. Now, when it comes to the simulation of what I'll show you a video of, the construction simulation phasing and project scheduling, in this is what we basically looked at in terms of what we were doing in China. So I'm just bringing you to the process of what happened in China and how we obviously got to that particular platform of creating the structure. So 4D, it looks at the time. This enables stakeholders to visualize the project time, detect delays, and improve coordination on site using different softwares that are incorporated. Whilst it is being constructed, you can look at how long the project will take to be drawn up and built at the same time. There seems to be a gremlin in the system. Right, so I'll quickly jump over to this particular BIM platform that I was talking about. Right, just give it a sec. Right, so there is a cloud-based platform called Autodesk Forma. Previously, this was called Autodesk Construction Cloud. So it's just a brief understanding of how you would use this BIM platform. So every single person will come in and incorporate themselves into this structure. So if you're looking at the BIM, the Autodesk Construction Cloud, it looks at the interface of now creating a project. Right, so it looks at the different projects. So Autodesk Forma, which was formerly called Autodesk Construction Cloud. So what a cloud is, so just so that I'm still with you, by show of hands, who understands what a cloud is? Not a cloud that is up in the air, but a cloud, a cloud that is online. By show of hands, who understands what a cloud is? Right, so I think you guys deal with a cloud, but you just don't know that it is a cloud. So most of the time, you guys are using Gmail, you're using Google Drive. So that's particularly the cloud that you would use in similarity to that. So Google Drive is what you will now retrieve information in that regard. So that's the same aspect in a simpler context that I can explain it to you. So when we look at this particular cloud, it's called a BIM cloud overview. I just want to switch quickly and see if it's still loading. I don't know what's happening to my presentation, but I was hoping I could show you that video that's very interesting. So right, I have on my left-hand side, what you see is not my name, it's just a certain name that I use just to create the account, right? So I'm currently the hub admin. So what a hub admin is basically you creating a Gmail account and for me to now start uploading documents. So I'll quickly just brush through it. So when I want to create a project so that I can communicate with the construction manager, and this is what happened in regard to the Chinese competition, excuse me. Right, so there was a particular platform where we needed to upload certain documents, but we used Google Drive. But in an instance when you're in industry, this is the type of Google Drive that you'll be using. So when I want to create a project, I'll obviously create on that particular project, and it'll quickly create a project for me and allow me to be a project admin. So I'm not going to show you the technicality of it because it's quite technical. Then you'll come into that particular project that you've created, and you'll get different individuals within the company, right? So you have an architect, you'll have a construction manager, and you'll have a quantity surveyor, maybe an engineer as well. And each and every single person has a particular level on how they can retrieve information on there. So if I go back then to the project admin side, if you look on the left, you have what is available in this project. I have data management, I have design collaboration. These are all aspects of us connecting to one another. So I can go to data management as a quantity surveyor and go and retrieve information, right? So when I retrieve this information, it allows for me to obviously obtain Excel sheets, PDF drawings, documentation that has been communicated with the individuals in the project. My Wi-Fi is not functioning. Can someone connect me? Right, so while I'm still connecting, so basically looking at that aspect of how you can communicate. So I'll just quickly then go to what happened at the Chinese competition. So when we arrived at the Chinese competition, ideally the BRICS Future Skill, BRICS Future Skill Challenge began in 2020. And what happened in 2020, obviously students competed in online, and then in 2022, it happened in 𝗏𝗃. So 𝗏𝗃, South Africa competed, and they obtained the gold and bronze as well. But as a cumulative in 2023, the students obtained a bronze. So as a person that obviously understood the competition, I stepped in 2025 as an opportunity, a great opportunity in that regard to learn. The reason why I'm so informed by these particular things is through that BRICS Future Skills Challenge. I did study, as the project director said, that I did study architecture and construction management. So both of these elements assisted me not to obviously go and look for work, train myself so that I can learn these particular skills, because most of the time these skills you might find that is being taught in industry. Right, so you might find that it's being taught in industry. So I just want to quickly go down, because just in terms of time, I want to show you that video that I was talking about in terms of what happened at the competition, right? Okay, while it's loading, I don't know why. Today, it seems to be a gremlin in the system. This is the reason why we need a lot of equipment that assists us in what I'm talking about today, right? So in terms of the history and all of that, this all incorporates the aspects of what needs to be done in terms of connection. So like I said, once you've created then your files, you are able to upload that information onto this cloud. So a cloud is basically like a Google Drive. So I'm uploading drawings, I'm uploading documents, I'm uploading Excel sheets, and I'm uploading communication to each and every single industry individual. This was the CrossPets platform that assists in that regard, where now as an architect, if I quickly go to the architect's folder, I can find the drawings that the architect has uploaded, right? And in terms of upload, I can then go and click on that particular document and go and see what the architect has uploaded. And this was basically happening in terms of in terms of the competition in China. So we needed to communicate with one another, look at these different drawings. So this was an engineer drawing that was needing to obviously be communicated about, looking at the foundation, looking at all the information that is required based upon what needs to be built with the structure. So when I quickly go back, so now I don't want to open up this rivet model. So this rivet model obviously links with this documentation. So ideally the architect wanted to communicate something so that whoever opens up that rivet drawing, then they can find that information. All right, so these are the different, like I said, I don't want to show you too much in terms of technicality of it, but these are the different platforms. If you are looking at a a Google Drive document and uploading of those particular requirements. So what happened in China then, we then competed against about 40 students from the Chinese TVET college, and it was just about 2 of us who competed with the Chinese. So ideally, in terms of the information I'm giving you, we need more participants in this particular competition, because with only 2 South Africans representing the whole of South Africa, it was quite a tedious and hard process. All right, so in terms of then what happened in China, we then won gold with that regard, as Dr. 𝗵𝗃 was saying, in terms of training in BIM. So these are the platforms that, under his leadership, that we were able to assist. I really want to show you this video but I don't know why is it, let me just try and close it. Right, so this video, so when it comes to the aspects of you as an individual, each and every single day you use a cell phone, right? So if you look at the bottom, there are different softwares, just like we explained in terms of BIM. There's different softwares that get involved in the process of BIM. So this process was using a cell phone, scanning within the room, right, and retrieving information, the inside. So this was basically like a recording booth. So you needed to look at what was inside that particular structure. So we walked in, we scanned this particular room and looked at what was happening. And after that, we were able to obtain information where we could put it into 2D CAD drawings and then render it and create what this particular structure would look like before construction stage. So using different software like Revit, so you looked at the structure. It was underneath an auditorium, so you needed to look at how you would fit information on the inside of that auditorium using that 3D model, right? So the different softwares that were used, just like as I've shown in this video, is what you call Polycam. So you guys use a cell phone every single day, and I'm sure you probably have a scanner on your cell phone and you don't even know. But obviously in the industry, they use more proficient softwares like your Metaports and highly intensive equipment. So this video basically shows me using a cell phone, taking it to another software, right? Remember, BIM is not just a software, it's a different platforms of software. So I've taken it from scanning the room and then moving it onto a different software called Recap, and then moving it onto AutoCAD, and then moving it onto Revit. So that's basically what you see in this particular slide, right? So with saying that, I don't know if you have any questions. Unfortunately, obviously, in terms of the connection and the presentation, I wish I would have showed you that video. That video is very interesting, where it actually shows the simulation of this particular structure. But with that, is there any questions in that regard? Does everybody understand? Project Director. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. 𝗵𝗀𝗀𝗀. We've had his two presentations and also what Dr. 𝗵𝗂𝗀𝗀𝗀 presented. Are there any questions? We'll take, let's take 5. There's one there at the back. There's 2 here. 2. Is there a third hand? There's a 4th hand, the black cap return, I think it's return fuel or something. There's a hand there. 3rd hand. Take the mic there. And where's number 4? Do we have number 4? There's number 3 at the back. The black cap with the shades. Thank you. Is there a 5th hand? Okay, let's take those hands. We'll start from the first one at the back, number 1. Oh, you're here. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is 𝗁𝗂𝗀𝗀𝗀. I'm a 3rd-year student doing building technology. I have 3 questions from the speaker. I've been designing plans for nearly a year now. And the first question I would ask is that for someone who's starting with Autodesk architecture, which software would you recommend between a Revit Chief Architect or Architect Desk, which would have like a very gentle learning curve? So Yeah, that's the first question. The second question I would want to know, is there a significant difference between a craftsman and an architect? And the last one would be any advice that you would give to someone who is starting crafting. What should they do to be motivated and to be on the roll for the learning of this new software technology?
Thank you. Number 2. You can try it now.
One, two.
Thank you. My question is, like, let me just first try to understand. I think on the presentation, BIM, which was being presented by the speaker, the BIM it seems to be a similar formulated model that can take a project from A to C using a mechanism which allow automation of the workflow without interference, removing the need of physical communication or allowing the remote working. Basically, according to my understanding, it's something which is similar to a Google Workspace. And also, my question is, which platform compete with BIM, and how is the future of connecting global engineers, constructors, and architectures, and more in projects?
You got the question. Thank you. Number 3. Thank you. Did we have a fourth hand? Did we have a fourth hand? No. I think those are the only questions. Can you please? Yeah.
No, thank you very much for those questions. I was getting very worried that I was losing you, but I'm glad those questions actually came. So to the first gentleman, I really love your question is because that's where I started. I started exactly where you were, being interested in these particular types of softwares. Whether it be Revit, whether it be chief architect, it is where now, because you can be a master of only one. So you can't know all of these softwares. You need to know one, but emulate through all of these different softwares. So if you are proficient, meaning if you are very good at Revit, stick to Revit. If you are good at chief architect, stick to chief architect. But also then understand other softwares. Reason being, when you step into the industry, remember I told you that in different provinces, each and every single province will use a particular type of softwares, and they want you to be proficient in that software. Some provinces want you to be proficient in Revit. Some provinces want you to be proficient in another one called ArchiCAD. Do your research in terms of that whilst you learn these particular softwares. And now, in terms of starting, the first basis that you need to start is the 2D, which is AutoCAD. So AutoCAD is what you call a drawing file. So it's called a DWG. So once you understand AutoCAD, then you can move on to the 3D platform. Rather start first understanding how to draw a line and master that particular aspect, and then move on to the next. So it's a scaffolding effect. So scaffolding meaning that I switch between the two. I switch between Revit, I switch between AutoCAD, I switch back and forth. The other question is where you said that, what's the difference between a draftsman and an architect? Or yes, an architect. So basically a draftsman, to simplify it, he works underneath the architect. So the architect will go to sites, he'll collect information of what is happening, he'll do a rough sketch, and then he'll come to the draftsman and then say, please clean up this drawing, right? Furthermore, if you want to find yourself being an architect, there are certain platforms. So being an architect, you can be a professional architect. At the same time, you can be a professional draftsperson. But the level of understanding between an architect and a draftsman is quite high, right? But you do go to school for a very long time. So an architect, you can spend between 5 to 7 years, right? As a draftsperson, you can spend about 2 years. But then you still need to work your hours in that regard to obtain you being a professional. Other than an architect, where you've worked 7 years, and you've studied for 7 years, and then you work 2 years and you write a board exam. So that board exam is from SACAP. It's the South African Council of Architectural Professions. They are the ones that say you are a professional architect. So the idea is that you need to aim to be a professional in these two platforms. What you desire, I don't want to make you choose. If you find drafting is a bit more, you find reliance in being a draftsperson, follow the steps of how to become a professional draftsperson, whether it be an architectural draftsperson, whether it be a structural draftsperson, or whether it be a civil draftsperson, right? So drafting is a multidisciplinary. It's got different industries involved in being a draftsman. You can work with a structural engineer, you can work with a civil engineer, you can work with a mechanical engineer as being a draftsperson, because then you do different types of drawings that are linked to that particular industry. But being an architect, you only focus on buildings. Right. I think I forgot the other question. So the idea in terms of the softwares, I'd advise you to train more. Even myself, I do exams pertaining to the softwares. So you can do an Autodesk architecture AutoCAD software test where you can go online and study it. What that allows you to do is to go and study that software and become proficient. Later on, you become a professional, right? So there's two platforms. You become a proficient user, meaning that you can use the software, and then you move to professional, where you become a professional user of that software, right? So particularly in those particular regard, you need to train with these softwares. Okay, thank you. And then the gentleman who asked in terms of workflow, right? So in terms of workflow and remote work, very good question, because I did want to speak to that. I myself sometimes do a bit of remote work. Like the CEO was explaining today, is that the war that is happening in Iran and the Strait of Hormuz being closed up, a lot of companies overseas still need to continue construction. And you'll find sometimes that people that are in that particular area don't have the systems, don't have the connection that you saw that I was struggling with today, right? Then they'll come and they'll say, remote work. You look on LinkedIn and you'll find that information to say remote work on LinkedIn somewhere in Dubai. I have a particular friend that studied architecture. She went overseas and now she's a professional architect running projects in Dubai because of remote work and understanding these particular softwares. So like I said to the gentleman, train on these softwares. Train more and more so that you become proficient, so that when a remote work aspect comes in, you are able to apply your skills that you've learned. And understanding the BIM workflow. So BIM workflow, as you were talking about, is what I was showing you, the ACC. That is a workflow. You saw architect, construction manager, quantity surveyor. That is a workflow. Someone can go and click, download information, go and do whatever needs to be done on that particular project, send it back onto the cloud, and then that person that is in Dubai, China, wherever overseas, can obviously retrieve your information. So the best thing is to look at that. And BIM is the future if you are looking at it basically right now. Basically. So you need to train in these particular softwares. I encourage you to do that. Right. Right, and then the gentleman who was asking about BIM 1D, 2D, and 4D. So when I talk about dimensions, it's basically, it's not dimensions of a room, right? It's basically in in an aspect to simplify it, I don't want to use another big word, but to simplify it is basically you taking this book, right? You first document all the information that you need to do, take that book, upload it, right, onto this laptop. Then you do a 2D drawing. After you've done that, you still use the laptop to now make this thing into 3 dimension. So 1 dimension is just basically, it's a one direction aspect. You're looking at documenting feasibility study, how much it's going to cost, and all of that. 2D, now you're taking it onto a 2D platform, which is your computer, looking at 2D lines, right? So it's just 2D lines, looking at the wall thickness and so forth. And then the 3D is basically now extruding those walls to become 3D so that you can look at it onto that particular platform. So don't get confused by the dimensions part. It's just a particular word to identify what this is. You understand? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. 𝗵𝗀𝗀. We're moving towards the end of our program. We're left with one item. I would advise you students to take the numbers and the contact details of Mr. 𝗵𝗀𝗀, not Dr. 𝗵𝗂𝗧. We would also want to have students from the Eastern Cape participating in these competitions. And it would be a good way of starting the Centre of Excellence, where you show the interest of participating and be one, make history as being one of the students who started this in the Eastern Cape. Let us welcome our last speaker, Mr. 𝗵𝗃𝗃 he's from the CIDB. He's the manager for skills development within the CIDB, helping a lot in terms of ensuring that we do have the standards which we implement for the industry. Mr. 𝗃𝗃𝗃.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kuseni. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, the reason I was actually waiting for him to pronounce my surname, I know it's quite difficult. And there's very few people that actually pronounce it correctly. So yes, it's 𝗵𝗃𝗃 from the CIDB. And I'm going to be talking about what are the opportunities or what is the type of support that CIDB is actually going to, or you can actually benefit from. So from the onset, I just want to talk about what the CIDB is. So the CIDB is a Schedule 3 public entity, which actually falls under the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure. Now, one of the things the CIDB is mandated to do is to regulate the industry, and it is also to develop the industry. So in terms of regulation, that is why the CIDB has, should I pull it up higher? Is that fine? Okay. So in terms of the CIDB's regulatory function, that is where the CIDB had to develop a register of contractors. So I know that there was some questions coming around, how do we actually support contractors and what we're actually doing for them. So we're going to be talking about that as well. So in terms of the register of contractors, we've got contractors at entry level, which is grade 1, and then you move your way all the way up to a grade 9 contractor. And that is dependent on your experience and your financials as well. Another part of the regulatory requirements is having a register of projects. So all your public sector projects should be registered on the CIDB's ROP, Register of Projects. Now, having this information actually gives us an advantage in terms of understanding what type of works are actually taking place, what are the classes of works, and where these projects are actually located. Another aspect is your procurement, and that's one area that we actually work on. We've got the standard for uniformity. So we can actually look at using procurement as a tool for development. And that is one of the things that we've actually done. In September 2000, the then Minister of Public Works had actually enacted what we refer to as the CIDB Build program, and that is what we actually use to fund the CIDB development strategy. Now, in terms of the development strategy, we've got a number of things that are actually being currently implemented, and we've got a pipeline of things that are going to be coming in the near future. But one of them is actually the Centers of Excellence. So the CIDB Centers of Excellence that we currently have, which is funded through the BUILD program, is currently held at the University of Johannesburg, Wits University, and now here at University Walter Sisulu. In terms of that support, one of the areas is to actually bring in technology advancements to these universities as well. So that is why we felt it was critical to actually have Dr. 𝗵𝗂𝗀 and his team to actually talk about building information modeling. And now there's other aspects that they actually work on. And if Sandile had a bit more time, you would have been also able to touch on things like digital twins as well as blockchain. And one of the things we want to also do is look at setting up a BIM lab that will actually allow you all access to use that software that we've mentioned. Now, one of the challenges, it is quite expensive when you look at the hardware that is required and the software itself. So that's one of the areas where Mr. 𝗂𝘁 was actually mentioning that the CIDB, together with the university, should actually embark on, and we can actually have that set up, and we can have students actually get to the lab and get exposed to it, but you'll also have the professionals that will be able to support you when you have those questions, how to actually go about utilizing that software. So that's one of the things that we're looking at support. But other areas of support as well, especially when it comes to your students, is you find yourself requiring what we refer to as WIL, work integrated learning. Now, just a show of hands, how many of you all are required to do work integrated learning? So that's the part where you need to go to a construction site and get experience, and you get your logbook signed off. So maybe just a show of hands, how many of you all are required to actually do WIL? There's just one gentleman here. The rest of you? So that is a critical component where you actually need experience on site. What CIDB has done is we've developed a standard which is now mandatory on projects above 20 million, and it requires that contractors actually place learners, students, and candidates on construction projects to get that work integrated learning opportunities. Now, our CEO did mention that we are focusing on compliance as well to try and get as many client departments to include this in their contracts, so it becomes a condition of contract. And so they have to ensure that they do employ young people to get that workplace experiential learning. Now, what we would like for you to do is, we would like for you to actually go onto the CBE, that's the Council for Built Environment website. They've got something called a national logbook. There you can then register yourself on that national logbook as a student that is going to be requiring work integrated learning. And then for those of you who have already graduated and actually are registered with any of the built environment professional bodies, there again, you can also go onto the same website, go onto the national logbook and the CBE website. You register there, and as contractors have to actually implement the standard, you'd find they'd actually go to that website and they use that database to actually locate students, candidates, and learners, because it's across the board. It's from everything from your artisans to your students at the university or University of Technology, and then obviously those that are registered as candidates within the built environment professions, they would also be able to get an opportunity to be placed on site and also to be mentored as well. And for those that are looking at actually starting your own company, you want to be a contractor, you know that you have to then register with the CIDB. But in terms of support thereafter from the CIDB, there's a few initiatives through the BUILD program as well to support you. One of it is also support in terms of competency when it comes to business management. Many of you will have the technical capacity, but in terms of the business capacity, that is something that we can then provide support. So we've actually got short learning programs to actually support you in that. We've also got an advisory program that includes mentorship. And then we've got things within our website. If you haven't visited our website as yet, I urge you to actually go to our website. There's a whole lot of information that you can actually use when you're doing your own research, but also information to help you to build your own business. Over and above that, the CIDB is also working with the likes of 𝗬𝗓 to actually provide you what we refer to as your bridging finance. So once you get a project, you obviously need finance for that project itself. And that can be a challenge for many. So that is why the CIDB is partnering with your DFIs to actually support those emerging contractors to get that bridging finance and to be able to run those projects. Over and above that, the CIDB has also been supporting contractors through what we refer to as a needs analysis assessment, where we actually would assess a contractor, identify what are their training needs or what are the gaps, and then we then provide developmental support to them. So you find there's a whole host of areas where we actually look at supporting your contractors. As I mentioned, for your students, what we've set up is your centers of excellence, where we're driving things like technology for the industry itself. So we partner with universities, and there's a whole lot of research that they actually assist us with that improve the industry as a whole. So if you need to get information, go to the CIDB website. You can contact our provincial manager as well within the Eastern Cape. They will be able to guide you. And what I will also do is I'll make my contact details available. So those of you that at a later stage when you require that work integrated learning, you can always drop us an email. We'll guide you in terms of the process, and maybe you can then share your CVs as well with us, and we can share that with contractors to ensure that you do get opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. 𝗵𝗲. We won't be taking questions. I think it was clear. And I saw that most of you do not want work integrated learning, as there was only one hand. It means that people, EIWS is doing very well in placing students. So we won't be giving that support, except there's a student there. Who are you? The one who had her hand up? Who said he wanted a placement? Was it you? Go there now to Pran. Give Pran your details so that we can assist you with your placement. As we are about to close, I've been requested that I request that you all stay seated. Your refreshments would be served where you are seated. The visitors, the guests, lecturers, and all the senior leadership, they've been requested to go through that door for their lunch. We have prepared certain packages for final year students, which we hope that there will be enough. Should they not be enough, we will be assisted with getting the names of the students who would not have received whatever packages that we'll be giving to the final year students, so that we can give them. May I request your silence? May I then request our closing from Ms. Dumako, who will close the session for us.
Afternoon, everyone. The Executive Dean, Professor 𝗬𝗂, the CEO of CIDB, Mr. 𝗧𝗵𝗲, Professor Clinton, and our special guest from CIDB, UJ, and other organizations that I might not have mentioned. A special greeting to you all. And to my colleagues and students, I greet you all. The shoes I am wearing today are a bit big, but as much as they are not my size, we say in 𝗵𝗶𝗀𝗀, 𝗧𝗵𝗘𝗀𝗀 𝗵𝗂𝗀𝗀𝗀. So I have been tasked to do the closing remarks. And as I was coming in here, Prof, I was just reminded of my time as a student. And I was just thinking that the opportunities that the students of today are getting and the exposure that they are getting, we never got to get that. But anyway, we tried and we showed up and we held on to every opportunity that was provided then. So I would like to say to the students, hold on to the opportunities, grab them with both hands, because moments like this, they can shape your entire journey. Prof. Twala here carelessly said, you need to pay attention to all the speakers, because one day in an interview, you might be asked about something that was said here. Because she was, I'm not sure whether it's a he or she, was paying attention, now he will get placement. That was what Prof. Twala was trying to say. You must just be here and participate. So, whatever that you have learned today, hold on to it and be sure to continue asking questions from your lecturers about things that were said here that you did not understand. So as we come to close of today's masterclass and launch of the CIDB Walter Sisulu Centre of Excellence, we reflect on essential session that has not only been informative, but truly forward-looking. The CEO of CIDB began by setting the tone, highlighting the critical role of CIDB in driving digitalization with the construction industry. This reminds us that digitalization is no longer an option, but rather it is essential for improving efficiency and transparency and competitiveness in our sector. We were then inspired by Dr. 𝗵𝗃, who positioned us within the global context through the BRICS BIM Skills Challenge, emphasizing the importance of collaboration, innovation, and global relevant skills. Mr. Mhlungu brought this to life by sharing practical experience from participation in the BRICS BIM Challenge and the BIM exhibition demonstrating how those platforms translate knowledge to real-world application and professional growth. Finally, how am I going to pronounce? Mr. 𝗵𝗃, okay, grounded us in the opportunity by highlighting the various BIM skills development pathways available, reminding us that capacity building is the heart of sustainability, sustainable industry advancement. So all these speakers, what I've picked up is that they tell us that the future of construction is digital. The future of construction is also collaborative. The future of construction it also depends on how we invest on skills today. The launch of the Walter Sisulu Centre of Excellence is therefore not just a milestone, but rather a commitment to nurturing talent, bridging the gap between industry and education, and positioning South Africa as a competitive player in the global construction landscape. On behalf of University Walter Sisulu team, I would like to extend sincere appreciation to all our speakers and for their valuable insight, and to all participants for engagement and commitment to growth. May the conversation not end here, but let's continue. I thank you.
Thank you. I think we have finished. We are done. We have adjourned. Enjoy the rest of the afternoon. We hope to see you soon as the CIDB. Thank you.